Joining us now, the author of the amendment that passed today, stating that the executive privilege assertion isn't applicable to fast and furious documents being withheld by the Department of Justice. We're joined now by Congressman Trey Gowdy, member of both the House Oversight Committee and the House Judiciary Committee, and a leader of the investigation into Fast and Furious. Congressman, good to have you here. Let's turn first to the disclosure that 140,000 documents are at issue here. Rather than what many of us thought were 70,000, and what looked like an admission, an agreement by the Attorney General as recently as yesterday that he could be forthcoming pending negotiations. Your reaction?
I'm not interested in negotiating with him, Lou. It's not a bridge tournament. It's not a used car we're buying. You have a dead Border Patrol agent, thousands of weapons with America's fingerprints on both sides of the border, hundreds of dead Mexican citizens. The thing about Attorney General Holder is if you wait 24 hours, the number may change again. It's gone from 70,000 to 80 to now 140,000. They're issuing retractions almost as quickly as the New York Times on statements that they've made in front of other committees of Congress. So whether it's 140,000, whether it's 40,000, I don't care about the number. I care about the completeness of the discovery, the completeness of his compliance.
The completeness to this point is negligible. Would you say it's a fair construction?
It is de minimis, if I can borrow from borrow a legal term from another language. It's insufficient for me to answer your questions. Every time I'm privileged to come on your show, you ask me wonderful questions, most of which I can't answer because I haven't seen all the documents. This isn't politics. If it were politics, then I'd be smiling and claiming victory because we held the Attorney General in contempt of Congress. It's a sad day for me as a former prosecutor that we had to do this. We shouldn't have to do it.
I want to turn to the politics of this in just a moment, but first let's get to the amendment that you attached to the order today and the import of it, and which you also today, you declared either this president is part of it or he's not, and if he's not, there's no basis for the claim of executive privilege.
Well, it's tough to have it both ways, isn't it? The Attorney General says he's never discussed the matter with the President. The President said he knew nothing about it. I have no evidence the President drafted that false February 4th letter. I have no evidence the President approved wiretap applications. In fact, I'm quite convinced he did not. So if he knows nothing about Fast and Furious and he's had no conversations about it, why is he asserting executive privilege? What's privileged? What's been said to him that's privileged? So that represented something of a twist or a turn for the administration. Their position in the past had been, the President knows nothing about it, has nothing to do with it. You know, the subpoena was issued in October of 2011.
Right.
I used to try cases for a living. You don't wait until the day of trial to assert your defense. In fact, in most trials, if you wait this late, you're barred. You can't use your defense, whether it's alibi or mental health. Why he waited until the morning of the vote to assert something as significant as executive privilege, I think it speaks to how legally insufficient and curious this decision was.
Again, another retraction, as you alluded to, by the Attorney General from a statement that he had made, saying straightforwardly that Attorney General Michael Mukasey had been briefed about gun walking, and in that instance, in the Bush administration, in Operation Wide Receiver, which he again had to retract. Some of the things that he's had to retract, documents that have had to be withdrawn and then reasserted with accurate statements, they're actually very fundamental issues. And it's curious that these kinds of statements would occur because they are substantive and they are important.
Well, the February 4th letter is where I start. That was a pretty fundamental misrepresentation to a committee of Congress. It took 10 months for them to figure out that was wrong before they withdrew it. Now they're alleging that another Attorney General, make no mistake, Lou, that's their defense, which, by the way, stopped working in my house when my kids were 5, which is, well, other people are doing it, therefore it justifies me doing it. I mean, that's what he's trying to do with Mukasey and say, well, I'm not the only one who knew about gun walking. My point to that is bring everybody before us that knew about it. I don't care what party you're a member of. If you knew about gun walking, if you're bull moose, Republican, Democrat, come to Congress and tell us about it. But that has nothing to do with your failure to comply with a subpoena.
Yeah, and Congress, let's be straightforward here. This has become part of the talking points of the Democratic Party. It is no accident that I hear the same conflation between Operation Wide Receiver and Fast and Furious from Democratic surrogates as well as Democratic officials on this broadcast. Let's go to the politics of this. I would suggest when people are saying that they're political gamesmanship, and Attorney General Holder was chief among them saying this is about political gamesmanship, I would assert that you are pursuing this investigation despite the politics of it, because it is a high-risk proposition for the Republican Party in the Republican-led House of Representatives. Would you agree or not?
Yes, sir. I have never had a political conversation with a Republican or, frankly, a Democrat on oversight or judiciary. And believe it or not, Lou, when the committee is over, Republicans and Democrats sometimes go off to the side and discuss this when we're free from having to vote and talk the party line. It has nothing to do with politics. I don't know Brian Terry's politics. I don't know any of the law enforcement officers involved in Fast and Furious's politics. It is about respect for the rule of law and compliance with Congress's responsibility, constitutional responsibility to provide oversight. Now, in the world we live in, they want to say this is election year gimmicks. The only reason we're doing this in an election year, Lou, is because they didn't do it last year when they were supposed to. If they'd done it in 2011, you and I'd be talking about something else tonight. The only electioneering or gamesmanship that is being played now is their attempt to once again blame everything on George Bush.
Yeah. Well, Congressman, how does it end? Do you believe that there will be a political, if you will, settlement, that the White House will come to terms with the Speaker, with the Chairman, Congressman Darrell Issa and Senator Grassley on the other side of the Hill?
Well, I had a conversation with Speaker Boehner today on the floor, and frankly, Lou, I thanked him for going forward, because I'm sure that there is a resistance to doing it, but it's important to do it. I got to be honest with you, and this isn't, leadership may tell you something different. I'm speaking as a former prosecutor from South Carolina. I don't want anything other than the full complement of documents, because the next time I come on your show, if I'm privileged to do it, and we have half the documents, then you're going to ask me, what are you missing? What's in the other half? Why did you negotiate? Why did you capitulate? If this were political, I'd say, sure, give me half of it. Let's both go away happy. Right. But we have a dead Border Patrol agent. We're going to have more people killed or injured with these weapons. I want all the documents, or give me a legal reason why you don't have to provide them, and it better be better than this last-minute, lame, legally insignificant executive privilege claim.
Do you find it, and this is my final question because we've gone well over, do you find it absolutely breathtaking that almost 15 months later, we still don't know who in the Justice Department authorized, approved, and initiated Operation Fast and Furious? We do not know who was responsible, and we do not have an accurate accounting of the communications amongst top national security officials, justice officials, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, and other federal agencies that led to the tragedy of more than 200 deaths of Mexican citizens and the deaths of one, perhaps two, U.S. law enforcement officers.
Lou, it's a combination of infuriating and sadness. Sadness because Brian Terry's family and friends don't know any more about why he died and how he died than they did the night he died. Infuriating because I have higher expectations for the Department of Justice than this. So it's a combination, infuriated, sad, but also resolved. This is not going away. However long I have in Congress, I'm going to get the answers. I'm going to give them to you so you can give them to your viewers. This is not a political haggling match to me. When I'm playing bridge, when I'm buying a car, this is about justice. I will take all of it, or don't give me any of it.
Congressman, we appreciate you being with us. We thank you very much. Look forward to our next discussion.